Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Family Caregiver Support Program's weekly education and presentation. My name is Michelle McGuire. I am a case manager with the Family Caregiver Support Program. I'd like to introduce the rest of the team. We have Olga Yamawaki and Valerie Moreno, also case managers on the team with me. Today, my presentation is going to be on caregiver burnout. First of all, burnout in general. I think most of us have heard about it. Burnout is basically a state of emotional, mental, and typically physical exhaustion brought on by prolonged or repeated stress. And I don't know about any of you, but myself, I've experienced burnout a couple times in my life, and it is a distinct and difficult thing to have to try to work through. You can have burnout as a result of your work, caregiving, parenting, just your relationships in general. Typically, when we talk about burnout in our culture, it's associated with work, but it can be in any of these other aspects of your life. Now, from a medical definition, burnout is defined as a stress reaction developed by a person performing in conditions of unrelenting stress. That's a medical definition. Often results in decreased performance, fatigue, increased susceptibility to illness. It basically wears you down. Just think about somebody who's not getting proper rest, probably not getting proper nutrition, not having any break from the stress cycle, just constantly overwhelmed. That's going to wear you down. Really bad for your health. Caregiver burnout, as you can probably imagine, is burnout from caregiving. And it's a huge problem. I think it's pretty rampant. And most of the clients that I work with are either in one of the stages of burnout or quickly approaching burnout, or they're on their way there. So I think this is a serious, public health issue that is largely unnoticed and not talked about. When we talk about caregiver burnout, again, same thing, state of physical, mental, and emotional exhaustion. It's common when caregivers try to take on more than they're capable of and when they start neglecting their own needs. And it's so easy to do when you're taking care of someone else, to slowly put it off. Oh, I can eat later. I can go to bed a little late tonight. Those things are normal. For temporary, it's fine. But when you're doing it chronically, you're taking on more than you're capable of, and you're neglecting your own needs. And when you start to see a change in attitude that often comes with burnout, you know for sure you're there. If you start going from positive and loving what you're doing to feeling resentful, indifferent, or negative towards your caregiver, then that's definitely a sign that you may be approaching burnout or in a phase of burnout. Caregiver burnout is also called compassion fatigue. And compassion fatigue is defined as the physical, emotional, and psychological impact of helping others. So it's kind of just a different definition of the same thing. When we talk about compassion fatigue and caregiver burnout, a lot of times, as you see here in the image, it's referring to professionals that work, first responders type, nurses, people like that who care for others, psychologists, but also family caregivers, right? So burnout plus compassion fatigue, caregiver burnout. I mean, that's one way of looking at it. You take the basic definition of burnout, working beyond your resources, not taking care of your needs. Compassion fatigue, taking care of someone else too much, equals caregiver burnout. Just one way of looking at it. I mentioned briefly, there's different phases of burnout, caregiver burnout. And the first phase is frustration. This usually lasts about 12 or 18 months when the caregiver feels frustrated. Phase 2, isolation. Caregivers really start feeling the effects of the isolation. And they just keep putting in more and more hours with less effect. That's key. And for me, when I was getting burnout in a job that I had, I noticed that I was working harder and harder and getting less and less done. And that is also a classic sign that you're burnt out. Phase 3, despair. And here, caregivers are experiencing more serious problems, chronic physical, mental, and behavioral symptoms. You may be experiencing depression, anxiety, difficult negative emotions. Caregivers in stage 3 really are in need of help. If you think you are in stage 3, for sure, reach out for help. Even in phase 2 to prevent you getting from stage 3. You're kind of in 911 at that point. We go into a little more about the phases. Phase 1, frustration or stress arousal. Initially, when you first become a caregiver, caregivers are eager to do well, make change and make changes and help their loved ones. But over time, if you're not taking care of yourself, you're going to start feeling run down. You're going to have difficulties. You're going to be overreacting. Your life is going to start becoming very chaotic. You may have new or worsening health problems. Your concentration may be affected. All of these. You may start self-medicating with alcohol or smoking. You may start cutting back on your social or leisure activities and neglecting your other responsibilities. Phase 2, isolation. And this is important. I hear this from my clients a lot. They kind of lack a sense of purpose. They're kind of lost. They've lost themselves. They may feel victimized. They may feel put upon. They may feel underappreciated or criticized. They may start to talk about caretaking as maybe not as enjoyable as it was at first. They may start to detach from others. Yeah. And they may feel that people cannot relate, because nobody else is there with them. Maybe all the siblings aren't helping, or if they have siblings. And so when you're isolated in the home with somebody all the time and you're not taking care of your own needs, you're not talking to other people, you're going to start to feel like you're the only one in the world. Phase 3, despair. We'll talk a little bit more about this. Much less energy. Getting sick a lot. Waking up exhausted. Neglecting your own needs. Either because you just don't have time or you just don't care anymore. And just not caring anymore, that's another sign right there. Your life revolves around caregiving, but you get no satisfaction from it. You can't relax. You're increasingly impatient and irritable. You feel helpless, hopeless, confused, or all of the above, plus more. So there is a difference between burnout and depression. Depression, I think, definitely part of burnout, but depression itself, it's a clinical mood disorder, unlike burnout, which is a result of extreme stress. When I'm talking about depression here, I guess I'm talking about clinical depression, not a temporary situational depression that might happen. Let's say if you ended a relationship or you lost a job, you may go into a temporary depression. That's different from a clinical depression, which would be diagnosed by a clinical professional. Yeah. Burnout is usually more achievement related than depression. Depression is more serious and best managed with therapy. Burnout is addressed by stress reduction. So how to cope if you find that you are burnout or you feel you might be on the way? Empower yourself. One of the biggest problems is that caregivers, they're not getting their own needs met. They're not taking care of themselves because they don't have the resources to take care of the care recipient and take care of themselves. It's just overwhelming. So you need to empower yourself, no matter how small. And this could be just having a cup of tea in the morning, finding some way to take back a little bit of control in your life. You need to feel appreciated. You need to ask for help. Find ways to give yourself a break. Find ways to get support in a support group or talking to friends, family. Find someone, reach out to a case manager if you're in one of our programs. Sign up for some kind of support program. Just do anything you can to try to help yourself. And if you're burnt out, that's the hardest time to do it. And you may say, no, I just can't. I don't have the time. You have to make the time. You have to make the time for yourself. And I just mentioned this a little bit. Feeling powerless over the situation is one of the biggest factors in burnout. And to feel more powerful in a situation, it's helpful if you can do some of these following things. Practice acceptance. Embrace your caregiving choice to the best of your abilities. Look for the silver lining. Try not to let caregiving take over your life. Invest in yourself. Focus on things you can control and celebrate small victories. Little things, anywhere you can find in your life. Getting the appreciation you need. Caregivers who feel appreciated experience greater physical and emotional health and probably do a better job of taking care of their loved ones. But I don't know that for sure. Get some appreciation, talk to people. Applaud your own efforts. Give yourself the recognition that you deserve. And imagine how your loved one would respond if they were healthy, or if they could respond to you. Imagine how grateful they would be. Asking for help with caregiving. Now, I know this is difficult because even my clients who have reached out and joined our program still have a hard time asking for help. You can't try to do it all alone. It's overwhelming. Try to find some kind of respite care. Talk to people about how hard it is. Ask for help figuring out the challenges that you have. Try to get others to take some responsibility. Yeah, give up some of that feeling of the need to be in control all the time. It's realistic. Somebody should be in control all the time, but it's not realistic for you as an individual human being. It's not realistic for one person to be in control all the time. It is realistic to be in control all the time, but not from one person. So accept help and give up some control. That's the point. Give yourself a break. Have I lectured you enough about this already? If you're not regularly taking time off, do it. You're going to accomplish less in the long run if you do not take breaks. After a break, you're going to be more refreshed and be able to do more. If you are tired and stressed out, you're going to be not performing well, and you're not going to be your best, and you're not going to be enjoying yourself. Maintain your relationships. Share your feelings. Do things that you like. Find ways to take care of yourself. Make yourself laugh. Get out of the house. Parent yourself. Take care of yourself. What does this person need? Ask yourself objectively. If I was my mom or my dad, what would I tell myself to do? Take care of your own health. Think of your body like a car. Neglect it and it's going to start falling apart. Stay on top of your doctor visits. A lot of my clients have not been to the dentist in a long time. That can become serious very fast. Infection can go through all kinds of your body, through the mouth. It's not something to neglect, and it can be very painful. Exercise, relaxation, and general well-being. You really need to take care of your own health. I think if my clients gave half of the energy they gave to the care recipient to themselves, they'd be well taken care of. Join a support group. Yeah, you're going to find people that you can relate to. People who are going to appreciate listening to your problems and understand what you're talking about. You'll be able to help other people with your experience and get help from others when you listen to their experience. You'll be able to break through that isolation problem. When you see that you're not alone, you'll be able to talk to people. Because isolation is a big problem. Yeah, and you may find people who have care recipients with the same illness. You can share things that work and don't. So that's pretty much the end of this little talk on caregiver burnout. Do have some resources for you. Our program, the Family Caregiver Support Program, housed by St. Barnabas Senior Services. That's spelled incorrectly there, Senior Services, at the phone number. You can also call the USC Family Caregiver Support Program if you don't qualify for our program. There's also national organizations that you can check out online, the Family Caregiver Alliance, the Caregiver Action Network, and you can search for Elder Care Services. They'll have all kinds of information on burnout, what you can do, what to watch for, but it's all pretty much the same information that I just shared with you today. It's basic stuff, but it's super important. It seems simple, which is great, but it seems hard to do for some reason. But you really, as a caregiver, you need to take care of yourself. And that's our main point from today. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and open it up for questions. Feel free to unmute yourselves. Questions or comments? Olga, you're muted still.
Hi, this is Terry Toshiba. Can you hear me?
Yes. Hi, Terry.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Hi. Thanks very much. That was really helpful to hear. Like you said, it's really hard to do. I'm actually in the middle of caregiving at the moment, so it's really difficult for me to get away to attend these sessions at this time. I'm sitting in another room on my laptop,
Wow.
on my headphones.
Well, good for you for making the time.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's that constant struggle of kind of feeling, guilty that you need to be doing the caregiving all the time, and it's really difficult to find time for yourselves. And I do have support. I have 2 other people who are also helping with the caregiving, but I kind of feel like I need to take care of their needs too. So even though they're helping out, I always feel like, well, maybe I should do this instead of them because I don't want to burden them too much. So it's really difficult. And one thing, I don't know if this is the same thing that you were talking about when you talked about compassion fatigue, but something I've noticed in myself is, besides the caregiving with all that's gone on this year, I was really feeling what I called empathy burnout. Like, a person would come to me, they would have something, really sad happen to them. And I'm just feeling like, I just don't have the empathy or the sympathy to be able to respond the way that I should.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. That is exactly what we're talking about with compassion fatigue.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, yeah, it's just really difficult. And I know my friends tell me, a lot of things that you said too. And I've reached out to Olga, so I'm hoping to touch base with her this week and hopefully discuss some other resources, which will help to lighten my burden a little bit. But yeah, it has been a struggle.
Well, I'm so glad that you joined us here today. That's a huge thing that you did for yourself, and I'm really glad you did. I hope that you join Olga's support groups on Tuesday, and come to these future talks too.
Yeah, I am going to make the effort.
That's great, because I think that you will do better. You'll do better because of it. I don't know. Are you glad that you attended?
I am glad that I attended. Yes. My friends tell me what you've told me, but it, unfortunately, it does make a difference when a professional says it too.
And to hear it over and over again.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, a lot of the information in today's presentation is redundant, but I think it's worth repeating. Yeah. Yeah. Well, good luck to you, and thanks again for joining. Olga, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Well, I just want to say hi to Terry. Hi, Terry.
Hi, Olga. Nice to see you.
And I'm glad you made it today because, like Michelle said, a lot of this information, it's redundant, and we always tell our clients, this, but I think it's helpful that they hear it all the time, because then little by little, they'll start implementing just little changes.
Right. Yeah.
Take like a 5-minute break, and, it just starts with that. So I'm glad you made it, and, you're on the right path of hopefully in us helping you with your caregiver burden right now.
I ask you, is this recording, is it possible to make it available to other people, like my friends who are also caregivers? Or
Yes, actually, I'm glad you asked that. I forgot to mention it. We post these on our YouTube channel.
oh,
So
okay,
they're available on YouTube. Yeah. And
Great.
we can give you the link for that.
That would be great.
Olga, can you do that
Yes.
when you think about it? Yeah, thanks. Yeah, we have a lot of them up there. And if there's any topics you'd like to hear about, feel free to let us know.
Okay, great. Thank you. I will.
Yeah. Okay, with that, I'm going to stop the recording. And thank everyone for joining.